Hi, this is Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and you're listening to the American Headhunter podcast. Now, if you're on Google Hangouts, I also do this as a video. It'll show up later today, later this morning, actually, on YouTube. And what I try to do on this show is spend about 15 minutes speaking with you about being a recruiter, about being a headhunter, about doing it better and being better than your competition. Because I think a lot of the training out there is BS. I think a lot of you work in offices where there are bad habits, management that doesn't give a shit unless you do production. And what I'm trying to do on this show and with some of my coaching is to make it easier for you to be successful. Now, this show is brought to you by consultingassignments.com. That's a site where you can find and fill consulting assignments, full-time consulting positions, temp to perm, and contract to hire opportunities anywhere in the world completely free. Posting a job or a resume is free. Searching jobs and resumes is also free, as is the ability to contact one another. The only thing the site charges for is if you want to feature a job or a resume. It is, get this, $10 for 30 days. And the price goes down to as little as $2 for 45 days if you purchase a pack of 100 over the course of a year. So that site is consultingassignments.com. So, as recruiters, we deal with people who, I don't want to say they lie to us, but they give us the runaround. And as recruiters, we're human beings too. We give people the runaround as well in our personal life. You ever go into a store with someone? Ever go into a store, be approached by a salesperson who's asked if they can help, and you respond by saying, what are those famous words? Just looking. No, you're not. You want to buy something. You just don't want to be annoyed or pushed by someone. And that's the way it is for a lot of firms that you're reaching out to do business with. At the end of the day, there are a lot of folks who don't know whether you're any different than the jerks that they hear about or have experienced before, either from the standpoint of job hunting or from the standpoint of trying to hire. So, it's not that they're trying to lie, but, you got to prove yourself to them. So I know with a lot of employers, the classic runaround they offer is send us some information or send us your literature. I love the use of the term literature, like this is Tolstoy or Dostoevsky or some great work of nonfiction. Actually, they think it's fiction, so I guess the choice of the term literature is accurate. I stopped sending such material out years ago. And I simply said, we'll respond to people by saying, so if you got this material from me, what are you looking to find out? Because I'm sure everyone says that they're the best and they're terrific and they're wonderful. So there's nothing there that I could possibly write that could distinguish myself. But tell me, what are you trying to find out from doing this? At which point they're left with two messages. Number one is they can come clean and say, I'm not really interested, but I figure I'd blow you off this way. And I'll thank them. Thanks, I appreciate that. It saves me time. I don't mind a direct communication. And if you were working with me and I was the search professional trying to help you, you'd find I'm very direct as well, because I know your time doesn't need to be wasted. And that becomes a way that you can open a dialogue. So I never mind a no. I just hate the idea of having my time wasted, because that's really the one thing that is a variable in what we do is our time. How we apply it, how we utilize it, how we focus in on things that can be profitable. Ever have a candidate not send you a resume? Of course. Or they'll say, send me a job description. That's a good one. And I've just finished spending 10 minutes talking with you about the job, and you want me to send you the description. And I'll respond in one of two ways, depending upon my mood, and the other one depending upon what I was listening to while I was talking. I'll say, by any chance, were you not listening to me? Were you preoccupied during that time? Or is this just a polite way of trying to get rid of me? Because I don't have to waste time sending you a link if you're not interested at all. What do you remember of what I spoke with you about? Now, at which point they go, no, I really wasn't listening. So, would you pay attention if I even sent you the job description? No, probably not. Thanks, I appreciate it. I don't need to have my time wasted. And that's really the trick in all of this, is trying to explore further as to whether or not um, your time is going to be wasted in this process. Uh, sometimes what they really want is some information about you, like name and phone number, email address, because at a later date they want to consider coming back to you when they do a review of their vendors over the course of a year. That's fine. I can do that. It takes a lot less time than doing uh, you know, attaching a file to an email and sending it to someone and knowing that they're not going to even bother reading it. So my thing is always be blunt and do it in a lighthearted way. And notice the tone of voice I used when I was talking there. Very easygoing, very calm, like it was really no big deal to me. Just curious, were you listening at all to what I was saying the last 10 minutes? Because frankly, I said a lot more than you'd see in a job description. But I covered the major points that are relevant here. I'm just curious, were you even listening? And it's very funny how people suddenly swallow hard and have to fess up. No, I wasn't listening. You know, it's bizarre because I start the conversation by asking, is this a convenient time, or would it be better if we scheduled something for later today or tomorrow morning? I just think that people instinctively respond with messages that suggest, and junior recruiters fall for this all the time. They want to see our information. What do we got? If they're a real beginner. And your goal is to differentiate yourself from the sheeple. I like that term. A friend of mine used it on Facebook recently. The sheeple. The sheep that just follow orders. Because at the end of the day, what you have to do is earn their respect. A lot of recruiters, fall for the notion of wanting to be liked instead of respected. And the more you act like a sheeple, the less likely it is that they're going to notice any difference between you and the other recruiters that they talk to, because you've done nothing to stand out from them. So think like they do. Think like an employer does. What do they need to know about you in order to figure out that you're worth talking to? Now, you can do this whole production about, we are wonderful, we are great, we do all sorts of in-depth work to evaluate and assess people. Yeah, right. Everyone says that sort of crap. One of the reasons I started to look at branding was the realization that from an employer standpoint, there's really nothing that causes a recruiter to stand out in the first conversation. So that's where I started to work on my branding and came up with the term, the big game hunter. And again, before any of you think of trying to steal that, it's a trademark and it's a corporate name. Don't do it. I'll sue you in a heartbeat. So when all is said and done, what you need to do is think it like the employer. What will make you stand out? Now, branding yourself, and that doesn't mean you use a tagline like mine or a corporate name like mine, but figuring out a way that you can stand out to an employer that's trying to hire, or stand out to an individual who's trying to figure out whether you're worth talking to. Is a key part of the strategy. Part of that is how you interview someone, how you evaluate and assess. When an employer sends me a job description, the first thing I'm trying to do is to schedule a conversation. Some people just instantly start working on it, but you really don't know enough to actually take action at that point, do you? And again, part of the way that you're able to stand out is by saying, hey, look, how long ago was this job description approved? 2 years ago? 4 years ago? And you keep recycling it every time this job opens up. From my vantage point, I want to work in ways that are congruent with what you need. This description is telling me one thing. experience tells me that over the course of time, it's kind of morphed in different ways, and this spec doesn't really tell me how it's morphed. So I just need about 10 minutes with you to talk with you about the position. You got time now, or should I send you an Outlook calendar invite in order to figure out when you are available? So it's things like this that are designed to avoid the runaround and to maximize your time for best results. Because that's really what you want, is you want to have your time optimized in order to ensure that you're working in ways that will help them. Now, when all is said and done, you're in charge of your desk, not the employer, not the job hunter, not the person that you're trying to recruit who's, quote, the passive applicant. Bullshit about passive applicant. But that's a different show. You're in charge of your desk, and if you let anyone steal your time from you, it's going to be a costly lesson because, as I said earlier, your job is to do sales. In order to do sales, you know better that the corporate recruiter, the hiring manager, the individual who's considering a job change, what goes into a hire and what you need to have in the way of information in order to actually help them. Now, I want to point this one out to you. It's very important for you guys to learn if you haven't already done it yet. And that is, you have to have the courage to fire clients sometimes. And I know it's very tempting, especially if you don't have a busy desk, to take any job order and run with it. But how many of those any job orders have you ever filled anyway? And if you're a rookie, a really junior rookie, and you're listening to this, I can assure you that if you ask the seniors, they'll tell you about one or two times, and you'll say to them, oh, those one or two times, is that how many? And they'll go, oh, I do it all the time. And the reality is they really don't. Pay attention. They don't fill those jobs. You fill the ones where you have a relationship. And that really comes with them respecting you. Now, here's one other thing I have to remind you. Once you have the relationship and you're starting to fill jobs, it's natural to start feeling like they're your bud, they're your friend. They're someone who, it's your pal. You've been helping them and look good for a while. You've been collecting fees and you let your guard down. I have to remind you, you're always selling because from their standpoint, you're not as important as you think you are with this organization. They really don't give a shit about you. And I'll just give you one example. There's a firm who hired 25 people a year from me for about 10 years. One day they call up and they've decided that it's in their interest to offshore all their recruiting. They have a recruiting arm overseas, and thank you very much. We really appreciate how you've helped us, but we're gonna bring this in-house. That can happen to you too at the drop of a hat. It takes time to recover from it, but at the end of the day, you have to watch out for yourself, and that means always being aware that you have to perform, and this person is not your friend, no matter how many lunches or dinners you've bought for them. So I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I hope you found this helpful. I also want to encourage you, come over to my website, thebiggamehunter.us, and click the tab that says The American Headhunter, because I've got a lot more content there that you can watch or listen to that will help you land your next will help you as a recruiter, I should say, be more effective. Now, one more point I want to make to you. Many of you get into situations where you're in over your head or you're not sure how to handle it. I coach people, and it's very inexpensive, but schedule a coaching session with me, schedule a Q&A with me. You can find out about that on my website as well. But at the end of the day, it's a lot less expensive to get advice than to blow a deal. And you know as well as I, the owner of that firm you work for who hasn't worked a desk in 10 years, they're not the best person to ask. I'm Jeff Altman. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you have a great day.